The biggest trend in pandemic wedding planning, hosting a micro wedding. The small scale wedding is where a growing trend before the pandemic hit, but nowadays micro may be the only way forward, certainly for a while. Joining us live this morning from the Wedding Guys is Matthew Trettel. Nice to see you again, Matthew. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Okay, let's talk about why people are turning to the micro weddings instead of maybe just postponing that wedding altogether.
A lot of the couples really have chosen a date that is really important to them. And so a lot of couples are choosing to actually continue to have a smaller scale wedding on that date and then hosting a larger celebration where everybody can gather once we can do that again.
Okay, can you give us an example of a couple maybe who recently decided to hold a micro wedding? How did they do it?
Yeah, so we just actually featured on our blog at theweddingguys.com this morning a wedding of Megan and Michael. They originally had planned a wedding for 120 people, and it was going to basically be during, unfortunately, the shutdown with COVID-19. And so they decided to have a COVID micro wedding in their parents' backyard, which was great. They were able to do some really great things. Adhering to the social distancing and being really creative. One of the things that they had done was created a guest table that was huge so that people could be spaced 6 or more feet apart. And it looked really great.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, let's talk about some other trends at micro weddings. For instance, what are brides wearing? Maybe they bought that big, beautiful dress that they were planning for the big wedding, and are they then scaling down a little bit with what they choose with the micro wedding?
So what we're seeing is, yes, a lot of the brides are having a celebration with a larger group later, and so they want to save that really special dress for that larger opportunity to share that with everybody and let that still be a surprise. And a lot of them are choosing more simple dresses. Think of like the courthouse weddings of the 1960s and 1970s. So cute, generally shorter dresses, a little bit more casual. We have a few examples that I pulled together. The first photo is really cute. Jumpsuits are really popular right now, actually, in bridal in general. And this was really fun, had a bow. Anything kind of in white or off-white is really popular. A second photo is a little bit more non-traditional, but super fun and cute and great too as the weather starts to warm up a bit. That will happen, right? We are in Minnesota.
Yeah, it will.
And then the third photo was my one of my favorites because it had a little bit of a ruffle to it. So anything that's a little bit more frilly too. And these are all available at ready-to-wear fashion houses, which is great. So you can get them in time if you decide that at the last minute you want to do a micro wedding.
All right. So let's talk about the celebration and the eating. How are couples feeding their guests?
So they've gotten really creative with this because a lot of caterers have actually closed down because they don't have that traditional catering business. So a lot of couples are actually looking towards local restaurants and doing just a pickup or a delivery for their small amount of guests that are invited to this micro wedding. And what's great about that is it does help support those local restaurants that are really struggling right now.
Right. And you just showed us an example of that bride and groom being in the backyard. But, are there still some venues that people can choose that, other than a backyard that are available?
So this is what's great. I came up, 3 of my kind of favorite little small venues are the Commodore over in St. Paul. And what I like about that is it's swanky and historic and just a beautiful kind of 1920s feel, which is really great. Kind of think Great Gatsby. So you can do something really creative and still have a smaller venue. Another option is renting a bed and breakfast or an inn, and the Sacred Clay Inn actually has put together a package where you can have a small group actually stay in the inn, have their ceremony and reception, and they will actually live stream that to guests that aren't able to make it, which is really cool. And then finally, thinking of kind of that more modern vibe, I love the idea of hosting a wedding at the penthouse at Hotel Ivy. So thinking Minneapolis, a little bit more cosmopolitan of the two cities, I think that's a really great opportunity as well.
Okay, so we're talking micro, but you can go big with floral. In what way?
Yes, this is one of my favorite trends. And so Megan and Michael's wedding is really evocative of that. She had a beautiful wildflower bouquet that was really grand. I loved also what they did with their ceremony setting. A lot of couples are creating a backdrop, creating something that's Instagram worthy, thinking that a lot of their guests are actually going to see this in a digital form, whether it be on Zoom or photos after the fact. And so creating kind of that atmosphere. Also, I love that they got Fido involved as well. So, you know, plus one might be a pet to get your guest count up there to that 10 level, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, everything has to be Instagram worthy, right?
For
In
sure.
planning just about anything these days. Well, Matthew Trettel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
But for more wedding trends and inspiration, you can visit theweddingguys.com. They've got ideas for micro weddings.